Since my childhood, I was very much keen to make films. At the age of 7, I decided to become a filmmaker. And of course, when I came sort of like in the early, I think, possibly at the age of 13, when I came to this country, I continuously kind of followed that dream. And with that extreme fascination about cinema, the first thing I did within coming of a week, I lived in the East End of London, and I went to Dog Market. There used to be a market called Dog Market, and I bought a camera, a Super 8 camera for £5. And since then I started kind of capturing a little bit of footage here and there. And this is how my kind of beginning of filmmaking. And since then I joined Four Corner, a film workshop in the East End in the 70s. And then from then onwards I went to the film industry, British film industry, worked as an assistant film editor for many years. And then after making one or two, I think two documentaries, I made a feature film for Channel 4 called A Kind of English. And after that, I went to film school, National Film and Television School, and done some short courses. So it's kind of a long journey as an independent filmmaker. And I made about 13 films for BBC, Channel 4, including a few documentaries, feature film, experimental drama, and short films. So it's kind of a long struggle as an independent filmmaker, but it goes back long time. Well, this is something very interesting. As a kind of my background means a childhood memories of back home of Bangladesh kind of brought back a lot of memories, and particularly I became fascinated with Bengali literature. And from that, I mean, I kind of came across many fascinating our folk artists, including Hason Raja, Lalon, and there are many others. And then particularly Hason Raja, when I came to know about his songs and his poetry, I became fascinated. One of the reason is about 165 years back, this folk poet, he became very renowned. In fact, I mean, he was kind of discovered by Rabindranath Tagore, and he in World Philosophy Conference in two places in the 40s presented Hason Raja in Delhi and Oxford philosophy conferences, and his name came across as a wonderful philosopher who propagated very interesting philosophy. And that particular philosophy kind of interested me. About 165 years back, a folk poet who came up with these wonderful ideas of harmonious living and a beautiful kind of living together in terms of kind of different communities. And it's like his simplicity and the poetry fascinated me. This film took about more than 10 years to put everything together. It's partly to do with the funding, because it's a film about a folk poet of Bangladesh. And I would say he's kind of well known in Bengal, not only in Bangladesh, in even West Bengal. And particularly that because he is a Bengali poet, and the storyline which doesn't kind of immediately attract funding agencies in this country. So I basically started looking for independent fund sources. Again and again I failed to kind of convey that, I mean, this can be a commercial film based on a poet. Finally, some of my friends who came up with money, some of the funding, and I started the project. Finally, it's about 4 years ago, I shot a little bit, ran out of all that money, and then obviously, I mean, it was a great risk that if I don't kind of complete that film, then I'll lose the entire money which contributed by the friends. And then I finally, a few months back, I had to remortgage my house and go to India and Bangladesh and shoot the entire film. So the film kind of took long time. It's partly to do with funding. It took such a long time, but again, to put that project together We had kind of renowned writers from Bangladesh, two of the most renowned writers, Salim Al-Din and Sayyid Manjurul Islam, and then finally uh, Masum Reza contributed a great deal uh, on the script. And it's a fascinating experience and journey altogether, because if you as I said, that I went to see many people for the funding, and nobody took any interest, but it's few friends. And then again, who are these friends? These are the kind of people from around the community. They contributed money, some of them their lifetime saving, and this is how the project came about. So what is really wonderful, it's about the project, that it's a film made uh, out of love, and passion. Of course, I mean, it took long time for me to kind of sustain my interest, but at the same time, those people who were standing beside me all the time and said, "Go ahead, try your best," and this is how I finally had to kind of I had to kind of remortgage my house and go and do the film. So basically, because it's a film, I wanted to kind of make an epic scale film, and it's for the first time a Bengali film of this nature. Partly to do with because it's costing a lot of money. So I had to kind of take one of the star from India. He's a very renowned film star, Mithun Chakraborty, and then female protagonist also. She's very well known. Her name is Raima Sen, and there are a lot of wonderful artists from Bangladesh. So it kind of a joint production in that sense. Indian cameraman, the technology, kind of a lot of these film crews are from India, and then a lot of artists from Bangladesh, and the funding came from England. So it's a joint production between UK, India, and Bangladesh. Well, let me tell you, I mean, how did I choose first Mithun Chakraborty? Because I was kind of doing a lot of research in terms of who could play that character of Hason Raja. And I could see from Indian subcontinent, I kind of knew about a lot of these superstars, and I knew their background. And then I again and again kind of a final conclusion of mine was that the only person who could reincarnate Hasan Raja is Mithun Chakraborty. The reason is he's a living legendary, one of the greatest living legendary performer we have today. And exactly, I mean, I met him about 10 years back, and he kind of agreed, and he waited all this time, and finally I worked with him, and it kind of proves that he was a magnificent actor, kind of brought back Hasan Raja on screen. And this is wonderful to work with him. The experience is he was very supportive, he was very helpful, and of course, I mean, nothing new about him. I mean, he helped a lot of independent filmmaker and helped them in the past, and he was all the way through very helpful, and trying to make sure that we don't lose much money in terms of kind of total production arrangement and all this. He took a great deal of care. I went to India and Bangladesh and kind of worked with a large crew, more than 100 people in the crew, and everybody, because it's a film about a legendary folk poet, and everybody kind of came with a helping hand, and it was such a wonderful experience to kind of work with these people. And I don't think I have kind of faced any obstacles apart from that. People who were involved, kind of they loved the project, and it was their passion and love was a kind of the main vital part throughout the total process of the filmmaking. I selected Raima, and it's particularly that we needed a character like that in our film. And then again, what she is actually granddaughter of one of the greatest film actress of Bengal, Suchitra Sen, and kind of she resembles her face. And not only that, the character in our film called Dilaram, which I envisaged, a lot of where kind of there are a lot of similarities, and also particularly was keen to kind of portray a Bengali character in the film. Although she is a Bollywood star, but she had all that kind of resonance in her character and appearance is very much to do with Bengaliness. And she was extremely kind of again wonderful performer. She performed so well, and she was again kind of very helpful all the way through. In many times, kind of she had to kind of stop our other work and come on our set and finish the film. Think the total process of this film taught me a great deal, particularly traveling from this country, going to various locations in Indian subcontinent, including Bangladesh, various parts of India. I met so many different communities, different cultures, different people. That kind of a great deal of kind of unparalleled kind of experience when you meet different kind of people. And all the way through, I think my achievement is that I found so many people, they love film in that part of the world, and they were always there with a helping hand. And I think that is something unforgettable. There are moments I can go on and on about, individuals kind of contribution all the way through. And that is a wonderful experience. The Hason Raja is a period film. It is set 165 years back. Of course, we have to be very careful in terms of kind of set design, in terms of costume, props, and everything. And we had some wonderful kind of people working in the crew. They were kind of done extensive research and came up with all these kind of authentic kind of prop sets and everything. And particularly costume. The guys from various kind of experience, and they went through all these details, and kind of minutely detailed kind of costume design was carried out. And then of course in terms of there are a lot of kind of costume in terms of choreography, dances, all that kind of very wonderfully kind of maintained. And I think it's again I was extremely lucky to have all these wonderful people working in the crew. It is a dream project, and partly to do with discovering my roots, where I came from. And the reason is that, it is very educational. Although the story is set 165 years back, the kind of philosophy he propagated in that time, which is kind of very appropriate till today, and we have forgotten a lot of wonderful things happened in those days, in terms of different communities in those days kind of coexisted side by side. And I think we have almost forgotten that as people and people of Indian subcontinent, we kind of contributed a lot in terms of culture to the world. And that particularly that film and the story of Hason Raja touches on kind of some of these wonderful cultural aspects of that time. And I think it's very kind of educational for people all over the world, particularly the Bengalis, the Bengali diaspora. And it is they would actually learn a lot from all that past history, and a dignified history, and which is very important, I think, today for us to look back and learn.
রূপ দেখিলাম রে নয়নে আপনার রূপ দেখিলাম রে